Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Feeling and Healing podcast. I am on with another Danielle Z. This is amazing. I can't won't say that I'm Daniel. We're both Danielle Z. It's amazing. It's awesome. Um, I am on with Dr. Z. And Danielle owns, and she's the main practitioner at South Bay Wellness, which is that you focus on nutrition and lifestyle and functional medicine. So, thank you so much for being here, Danielle.
Thanks, Danielle. It is fun to be
Yeah,
here, right? Because how many Danielle Z's are there in the world? There is
I
not many
know.
that are kind of like us.
I know, and it's like the world, like the universe collided, and Cam was on my podcast and was like, "Oh, meet Danielle," and I was like, "Oh my gosh, another Danielle Z." I don't think I actually think I don't. You're the first. I've of course met other Danielles, but you're
Right.
the first other Danielle Z I've met.
Yes. Yeah. Well, it's pretty cool. So we can share our name. That means that we're supposed to be here, and all of your listeners are supposed to be here today for whatever it is that we're going to discuss.
Exactly, exactly. So my question, I guess, for you, because your focus on nutrition and even what I'm learning in my own mental health journey is how important nutrition and wellness is for us. But can you just tell, I guess, the listeners like your journey to your own wellness and how that prompted you to start your business and, your lifestyle?
Yeah. Sure. Sure. Well, it's been quite a journey, right? There's so many different parts to the journey and pieces, and it's so interesting how serendipitous life is,
Mm.
but I remember, when I was a little girl, I was always in Dr. Platnick's office. It was like all the time, and it was the same thing every time I'd go in, I'd get the nebulizer treatment for my asthma. And then,
Mm.
he'd come in with that steroid injection for my rear end. And I always was trying to run and hide underneath the exam table.
Oh.
And no one ever sort of questioned why that was consistently happening. It was just like
Mm.
normal. I grew up
Mhm.
like everybody else. My brother Joey and I, when we were little, we used to sit on the couch and we used to cross our arms and our legs and we used to pray like, "Daddy, please bring home McDonald's. Daddy, please bring home McDonald's." And lo and
Oh.
behold, McDonald's showed up, and then there was Carvel to go with it for dessert because
Yep.
Carvel was McDonald's. And so we grew up like everybody else.
Yeah.
And, when I started college at Columbia, by the end of my first semester, I was waking up every day with this constant nausea. I was
Mm.
completely exhausted. I walked into every single one of my classes with that, 16-ounce cup of coffee. This was like before Starbucks. There was no Starbucks back then. Um,
Somebody were like, there was no Starbucks. Oh.
no Starbucks back then. So I'd have my 16-ounce coffee and I'd even be drinking that during class and still find myself falling asleep. And
Mm.
I remember I went into, campus health services and I said, "Hey, these are the things that are going on." And the doctor was like, first of all, he wanted me to go run 5 different tests. Now, here I am, full-time student. I didn't come from a family that had means, so I was working multiple jobs so that I could afford to be in college, right? And I'm like, "And you want me to go spend my time doing what?" And at the end, he handed me this prescription. And he said, "All right, Danielle, you're just take this, you'll be good." And I was like, "Okay." And I'm thinking Dr. Platnick, pink bubblegum stuff, all right, I'm going to take this for 5 days and I'm done. Except that he was like, "No, you're just going to take this forever." And I was like, whoa. It was the first moment I realized that there's something wrong here. Because
Mm.
why would my body need this pill for the rest of my life when I'm 18 years old?
I was gonna say
And
were you even 20? Like, yeah.
yeah, yeah. And so began my journey into what's happening here and why is my body doing this? And how do I actually stop this from happening in a way that doesn't require me to take a pill all the time?
Yes.
And so that was really the beginning of my journey. And not too long after that, I remember I was sitting at my grandma's dining room table, and Nanny is what we called her. And I could see from where I was sitting, into her kitchen, and she had come out and she put down this tray of cookies on the table. And as she did that, she stood up and her body began to shake.
Hmm.
And I had never seen anything like that before. And I
Yeah.
remember her friend Mary Jane was sitting right here next to me. And Mary Jane's like, Danielle, your grandma, she's not feeling well.
Yeah.
I'm like, what do you mean she's not feeling well? I heard my mom and my aunt, like I overheard them on the phone earlier that day, and they were talking about how all of Nanny's blood work looked great and her stress tests came out amazing and everything was so hunky dory. And I'm like, this doesn't make any sense, right? And I can see in that moment, right into the kitchen, on that kitchen counter, I could see all of those pill bottles lined up.
Mm. The prescriptions. Yep.
Yep. And that stuck to me in that moment, like, oh my God, not a single one of those things is actually helping her. And
Mm.
now I had no choice, right? Because it was no longer just about me. It was about helping somebody else. Sometimes that's the way we operate, right? It's about
Yes.
helping someone else. And I like started to dive in. This was back in the days of like, library books and the library card catalog. Like the internet was not the big source of
Yeah. Yeah. No.
information.
No. Yeah.
So I really started to dive in and I'd call her, I'd be like, all right, Nan, I just learned this. I want you to try this, right? Like get rid of the fluoride in your toothpaste. It can be, hardening things in your arteries, whatever, whatever it is that I could find. And it was it was too little too late, Danielle,
I'm so
because
sorry.
it was just like a month or so after that Nanny passed away from a heart attack.
Mm.
62 years old. They had just
My
moved
God.
from
Wow.
Brooklyn to Long Island, right? Going to enjoy their
Yeah. Their
their
golden year.
days. And so that really opened my eyes to something different because now I'm in this research process and learning those things and I'm like, holy cow, there's something amiss in the system where we're just kind of putting band-aids over everything and not actually getting to the underlying root cause of why these different health issues are occurring. And after that, you couldn't keep me away.
No, I think, when
After that, I
something
needed
hits
to
you
figure it
like
all out.
that. Yeah, well, I think you had obviously clearly thank you for sharing that, number one, and that experience. But when you have something that impacts your life so deeply, then
Yeah.
you want to like you're like almost an investigator in your own life, and you're like, why is this happening? And this is not like, and I love that you use the term the system, and and I don't like to be, but this is just what I believe, and I think you and I share similar beliefs, is like the pill is the quick fix. The
Right.
pharmaceutical companies want us sick because they can medicate us. And there's
Yes.
so many more natural ways. And I love that you focus on nutrition because from what just I know as like a layman, just normal person, but I do eat as healthy as I can, try not, but I know our diet, the American diet is the standard American diet is sad. Like
Yes.
they call it because it's like it's all processed. It's the food
Right.
is not nutrient dense. I think I was listening to somebody who was on my podcast previously. He was like on social media. He's a doctor as well, and he was saying that this like the soil, nutrients. He was like it would take 65 bags of a spinach that would equate a one bag of spinach in 1920. I'm like, that
That is,
is
yep.
crazy. Like, so
Yes.
even if you do think like, yes, you're eating healthy or you're doing like you're not, your body isn't getting the nutrients. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure I supplement with vitamins. And I
Yeah,
don't know if
absolutely.
if you suggest for, people that are, and also too, I'm learning in my mental health journey that a lot of your serotonin, and it's ironic because I will say it, and I say that I'm on an SSRI. I'm on fluoxetine, the generic of Prozac, very low
Yeah.
dosage, like 40 milligrams. But I think it's fascinating because most of my serotonin is made in my gut. It's not made in my
Right.
brain.
That's
So,
right. Yep.
so I think that's interesting too.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I think, Danielle, we live in a day and age where we've kind of there's two things, right? We've kind of stopped questioning what we're told. We've kind of just take everything as like real without saying, hey, I wonder if there's another view. I wonder if there's another perspective, right? I mean, just look at what's
Mhm.
happening on social media. And we don't even know what's real on social
Well,
media, right?
exactly. You know,
Videos
like with AI, yeah, we're like, is that real or
yeah,
is that
yeah,
is that really that
exactly.
person? Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. You could have a famous person saying XYZ and they never said that. It's just an AI bot that you can't figure out as an AI bot. So it's
It's scary.
crazy, right?
It's
It's crazy
scary.
in that realm. And we have so much trust that we sometimes give away our power. We
Mhm.
see a lot of highly successful business women who are navigating what it means to be a productive woman and to have all these things happening in their life with their health. And so it's easy, right? When you're in that space of like, oh my gosh, I need help quick now, it's easy to just kind of go with whatever that easy thing is. Except
Yes.
what we don't know is what's the consequence of that, right? And how do we figure out really what our body needs? But
Mhm.
that is now the other piece. So here's a rabbit hole, right? There's the other piece that's connected to that. And you see this all the time as a mental health practitioner. We've stopped kind of checking in with ourselves and our bodies and
Yes.
being in tune. We've stopped stopping, right? We now
Yes.
we now call rest. I was on in a consult with a client yesterday, and she's like, I said, okay, so what are we doing about self-care, right? How are
Yeah.
you, how are you
Yeah. What are
de-stressing?
you
She's got a
doing?
lot
Yeah.
of different things going on in her life. And she's like, oh, I play this game on my phone. And I'm like, okay, wait a second.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's not actually, we think it's decompression, but it's not actually decompression, right? It's not actually bringing our body into this calm state.
Mhm.
It's keeping us still on that higher alert and still
Mhm.
disconnected from ourselves. So it's
Absolutely. Unfortunately, and I say this all the time, like I'm as more of a medical practitioner, and I would say I'm more mental. I am not I know certain things about my own body, but I would never
right.
tell anybody anything medically about
Yes,
themselves.
of
That's not
course.
my area of expertise, but I just know that like we on our brains and our bodies were not made for this level of stimulation. Like
Yes.
with the constant emails, text messages, social
Yes.
media, like, and even, as you said, like the screen time. I actually just had somebody on my podcast that, like, I was like, what's the best advice you could give for somebody who just wants to, listen to their body more? And he's like, put your phone, like, charge your phone outside of your bedroom. Like, don't even
Yeah.
let it. And I was like, I love that because it's like, I think we do equate because it's just like the times we're in, but like that's still stimulating your brain. Like you're not resting, as you said, as you probably explained to her.
Yeah, exactly. And it goes beyond that too. I mean, we can get into all sorts of rabbit holes where, I mean, if the
Yeah,
first thing we look at, if the first thing we look at in the morning when we wake up and the last thing we see at night before we go to
it's a
bed is our
screen.
phones, right? Now we can start to talk about the blue light and how that impacts our circadian rhythm. How does that
Mhm.
impact our hormones? How does it turn all
Mhm.
of these things into, this really chaotic state for our body. I talk about bioenergetic coherence. I talk
Mhm.
about having the body in that space where, if you could imagine everything is just kind of vibrating at this perfect place, everything's
Yeah.
communicating
Yeah.
coherently. And we're so amiss, right? It's more like instead of having this beautiful, like crystalline ball, there's like a mismatch of, wires and things all sort of combined together, if you can imagine that
Yeah.
visual
Yeah. Yeah.
state. And that's what we need to get back to. That's for our physical health, it's for our mental health, it's for our spiritual health. It's
Absolutely.
all of it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I'm not an expert, but I know but I know like they say for good sleep hygiene, and I forget if it's half an hour or an hour, but like do not look at your phone before you
Right,
sleep. That
right.
will, and also too as a mental health professional, as a doctor, like sleep, I will say is one of the most important things you can do for your brain.
Yes.
Like I know,
Yes.
and I've been told this from, I know this as from my own experience in my body, and other mental health professionals have told me this. My own psychiatric nurse has told me this. Like, you know, something is off with your mental health. Like, the signals that your body will tell you are normally sleep disruption or appetite. Like, it'll be a, either you won't eat or you'll overeat, but the sleep disruption for me has been always my tell. I'm like, maybe something is deeper brewing inside of me that I have to focus on, or fact, or maybe I'm getting to like burning out, so I have to, but once I get that, like, because that's when your brain, rests. It's also when it just clears out all of the things, it's your reset every night. And if you don't sleep, oh, I've been, unfortunately, have been in like
Oh,
short periods of time, not a long, but like days of insomnia. And let me tell you, the impact on your health, oh, it's awful.
yes. Yeah. Yeah. I think back to the days where I used to be able to stay up late and like wake up in the
Yes.
morning and feel good. And then after a
Like when you were
while,
like in college.
yeah. Yeah. And the problem is, right? I don't think I'm not going to blame it on aging because I don't believe I'm blaming things on aging. But the issue really is that we've accumulated sort of this deficit over time with our health that our body can no longer recover because it doesn't have that those reserves anymore that it can tap into that maybe it was able to tap into before, especially like, yes, we have more responsibility. We've got more stuff coming with us, the toxicity just from the mental health standpoint, but also from the physical things that we're exposed to, from the chemicals, from the air that we breathe, the water that we drink, the food that we
Yeah.
eat, like all different things. It all comes together, and our body's like, okay, I got to prioritize what's the most important thing. And
Mm.
so, I mean, when we're in this chronic state of fight or flight, our
Oh,
body
yeah,
has its own physiological response.
absolutely.
It's supposed to have that response, right? Like
Yeah.
we were designed ingeniously so that if we're chased by a tiger, then yeah, we've got what we need to survive and outrun or hide or
Yes,
whatever that tiger.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like to protect ourselves, keep ourselves safe. Absolutely.
Exactly, exactly. But what happens is in this day and age, with everything that's coming at us all of the time, our body stays stuck in that
Yep.
space.
Yeah.
And it was never designed to do that. Like your
Nope.
body doesn't know that scrolling through Facebook or Instagram or TikTok is, not a lion or tiger chasing you.
Exactly. Or that text that you get or that email you get from your boss at, like maybe later or outside of business hours. Like it doesn't know you have that same visceral experience as if a tiger was chasing you or, something was threatening to you. Absolutely.
Yes. Yes. So we get stuck in this trap. And
Hmm.
as you said before, it's like our physical and our mental well-being, they're connected. They're not
Oh,
separate. They're
100%.
they're
100%.
in no way separate, right? Like we said, like where's all that serotonin? Well, what's happening with the GI system? So if we're
Mhm.
always stressed out, now our GI system is taking a hit because our digestion is the least important thing when you're stressed out. Your body's not worried about digesting, it's worried about running from the tiger. And
Hmm.
so now, our gut and our GI system is taking all these insults, except, yeah, you're right. Like, okay, well, what about that serotonin production? You
Yes.
know,
Yes.
so now we start this cycle, and the cycle goes around and around until we decide we're actually going to stop it. And
Absolutely.
that
And
takes,
yeah.
yeah, that takes that tuning in. That
Yeah.
takes that getting conscious to like, oh, wait a second. Let me, like you said, let me put my phone away. Let me put it in a different room if it's just way too tempting to have it next to me. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think even too, while you were talking, sorry, I was also thinking, I was like, I want to ask you about this. So I apologize for how I was like eager. I know talk about the serotonin in your brain. Like I've just learned about like the gut brain axis. And then of course, like our brains and our nervous system is throughout our whole body. So it's like all these things, even not just like the two things we were talking about, which I know a lot of people talk about, but like it's all interwoven. So if one, it's like a car. It's like if your engine isn't working, your car can't run, and it's going to impact your whole car. Or if one wheel is, well, maybe a little flat, like, it's like you gotta address it. And I think unfortunately we live, and probably like we live in this do, and I'll blame. I mean, I don't know what you. I for in America, I blame capitalism. It's just like more, make more money, but it's like no, like we don't have to earn rest. Like your body needs rest, and trust me, you're talking to a person that tells that to themselves. Like I have to always do more, and it's like sometimes doing nothing is what my body needs.
Yes. Yes.
You
Well,
know.
that is a part of honoring yourself, right? And the
Hmm.
truth is, you know, and I work with a lot of, very successful women, and it is this thought, right? This misleading thought that more is better, right?
Mm.
And more, like you said, it isn't always better. Sometimes it's actually less. When I have clients who come in and they've got, all these different menopausal symptoms, and they're, working out at the gym for an hour a day, and they're, doing ice baths, and they're doing all these different
Yeah.
things. You know what? We actually need to stop those things for a little while.
Yeah.
Like we need to actually
Interesting.
do less, not more, because we've got to get your body out of this hyper tense
Mm.
state. Right?
That's
We've got to
interesting.
relax cortisol. Yeah. Yeah. It's the opposite of what we're told. We're told, hey, you
Yeah.
want to lose weight? Well, eat less, work
Yes.
out
Eat
more.
less, go to the
Not
gym.
true.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's very
Not true
interesting. Yeah,
for
because that's the
everybody.
first thing you think, or that's a dietitian or or anybody who isn't maybe looking at the whole body, and I know you're very
Yes.
holistic, would tell you like, yeah, just go to the gym, or you know what I mean, or just yeah, like eat less, and it's like I don't, like, but your body also needs nutrients, and to then go obviously to work out, you need to burn off those calories. You need calories so you have the energy to do said exercise.
Yeah. I often tell people, yes, there are many nuances to our health and our well-being, but
Mm.
there are some fundamental basics. And
Mm.
sometimes we've overlooked the basics to
Yeah.
head for these new and novel and, whatever you saw on TikTok or Instagram. Let me just
Yeah,
try
yeah,
this.
yeah.
People are in this pattern of like throwing darts at the dartboard, trying to hit the bullseye, when maybe it's just, stepping back, putting the phone away, making
Mm-hmm.
sure that you're getting in 7 to 10 servings of vegetables a day, making sure that you're
Exactly.
providing your body with real food, not
Yes.
convenience food that's in the pantry, right? But you can have convenient food that comes out of your refrigerator,
Yeah, with no label on it. Absolutely.
Exactly. So sometimes it's about getting back to basics and not just, going into all of these other means looking for that. It's like stop, breathe, slow down,
Exactly.
listen.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, what does your body say? What does your body really need?
Yeah, and I will add to your like kind of simple thing. I always say like sleep, the amount of water you drink a day. I think also too you would agree. Like I'm not saying do crazy exercise, but we live a more sedentary people. A lot of people work from home, so you're more sedentary. And the biggest one for me, and I know it's hard in the winter, go outside. Like, you know
Hmm.
what I mean? Like it's like I think there's this funny thing on social media that's like it's like a mock like role play of like a therapist, and it's like the girl is like I'm depressed, and the therapist is like, did you eat today? She's like, no. She's like, did you have any water today? She's like, no. She's like, have you been scrolling on your phone all day? She's like, yes. She's like, and then she's like, have you gone outside? And she's like, no. And it's like, well, yeah, no wonder why you're depressed. Like, because you haven't done
Right.
anything to like, and I will say grounding. It is not a trend. Even if you could just like go outside for like, I know, and I live in New Jersey. I know you're in Texas, but it's I know it's still cold there too for you guys. But like, just go out and just get the mail. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't have to be a crazy like you don't have to go for like a 12-mile hike. You can just like, go
Right.
out and like, just run an errand, you know what I mean? Walk it like park your car a little further and from the store and walk a little bit longer. Like all those little things add up.
Yeah. And so Danielle, I think one of the really important things for people to know, or to distinguish for themselves, is how often are we looking outside for the solutions versus looking inside?
Mm,
How
yes.
often are we actually, instead of look like, okay, I'm depressed and scrolling for what is that fix going to be, but just kind of like tuning in, like, okay, maybe there is an emotion that's present or something,
Mm.
and just sitting with it
Mhm.
versus actually trying to bury it, which is a lot of the times what we do. I love, I don't know if you're familiar with the work of Dr. Joan Rosenberg, and she wrote a fantastic book that's called 90 Seconds to a Life You Love, which is
Mm.
literally about riding that wave, that 90-second wave of that emotion, feeling into it rather than burying it. And part of
Yeah.
what's so fun about our phones is they allow us to check out, so
Yeah.
where the question I think people need to ask themselves is, where are you checking out? Right? Where are you
Mm.
checking out with your health? Where are you checking out with your, mental well-being? Where are you checking out with your spirituality? Where are you checking out because it feels harder to check in than check out, you know?
Yeah. I love, because I always say that, especially with mental health and healing. You can try to go like external, but you have to turn in. And you're like, even you're saying, just sitting with an emotion is so powerful. And like I always say, like, unfortunately, if you don't process it, it's gonna come out in some way,
Yes.
shape, or form. And it, like, I mean, it's called projection, but like, and I'm not saying it's all negative. It could just be like, but you're, and it's okay to have emotions. I think that people are like, I think society too, and I'm so grateful we're on a more I guess mental health aware, and we're breaking that stigma. But like, it's okay to have emotions. Like, you're a human
Yes.
being.
Yes.
Like it's like like, and because I know, like, maybe generations ago, I know, like, in the past, it's like, oh no, like, shove your emotions away and suppress them and don't feel like, but it's like, no, like, we're human, we're going to have feelings, and that is normal and okay. It's just, we can't control our feelings, we can only manage them.
Right. Right.
Like, they're
Absolutely.
gonna come, like, we're human. And that's what I do with a lot of the work that I do with my clients. I'm like, the whole point is never not to feel again. It's like, you're gonna feel, it's just to healthily process those emotions and to, be more resilient in times when, yeah, because we're all gonna, like, life's like, things are gonna happen, it, like,
Mhm.
I wish I could tell everybody you're never gonna, have a bad day again, but I would be lying to them.
Right, right, right,
You
right.
know?
Yeah, it's true. And I think you hit on a key word, right? And that word that I heard was resilience.
Yes.
And I think it's important for us, for your listeners, to begin to think about, well, am I actually building my resilience?
Mm,
And I'll say, one of the pieces that often gets missed is that physical resilience. Like, we
mm.
have to take care of our body. People they don't always understand. So, your body has a response to everything. So take, inflammation, for example. Well, your body is designed, when there is an inflammatory process that's going on, it will make you feel depressed, or it
Yeah.
will make you feel anxious, right?
Yeah.
And so if we keep casting aside what it is that our body physically needs, we end up again in this loop. And people are
Mm.
like, well, I don't understand. Every time, so, take somebody who might be sensitive to gluten, for example, they're like, they eat a sandwich one day, and they can't understand why every time they eat their sandwich, they're having an argument with their spouse 3 hours
Mm.
later.
It's all connect. Yeah.
It's all connected, right? We don't think about these things as being connected. We're just like, what? They're associated?
Yeah.
How's that
Yeah.
possible? But
Yeah.
everything that we put in, on, around our body, that we expose ourselves to, that impacts still our mental well-being.
100%. I mean, we're going back, and I don't want to beat a dead horse, but going back to sleep, like, when I don't get enough, even if it's like enough sleep, like, even if
Sure.
I got, I know, like, I can feel like, I'm like, some days I'm like, I just like feel a little bit more irritable. I'm not as patient. Like, and like, I mean, I check myself, and but I'm just like, I know it's because I just didn't get a good sleep. I didn't get a good night's sleep last night, and I'm like, you gotta focus on sleep tonight because I don't want to repeat this. But that's me checking in with, I check in with myself, and, I'm like, yeah, that's the reason why. I'm like, yep, like that is it's very apparent when I don't get enough sleep.
Right, right,
You
right.
know?
And that becomes, I mean, that becomes problematic.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But no, thank you so much. It's just been such an and we went I love talking to people and like more of like the nutrition and well because I think and this is just once again as I said from like my lamest I'm like very low level. I mean, I do try to eat as much, as you said, healthy whole foods as possible and no
Yes.
not like but I'm a human. I'm gonna have a French fry every now and again, but everything in moderation. But I always appreciate that you, somebody also like in the medical field, because you can probably speak to this. I think it is crazy that like most medical doctors don't have a lot of training in nutrition and that it like where food
Yes.
is food is like we eat every day, and it's amazing to me
Right.
that a lot of people, not you, but a lot of people in like just the general system of the healthcare system don't have any like it's like maybe they take one nutrition class. It's like, oh my, like but like our food is impacting us more than ever.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is a big deal. It is a big deal. We've got to
It
get
is.
back to the
Yeah.
basics. We do have to get back to eating real food,
Yeah.
and that's fundamental. It's the fuel that our body was designed to go on. And if we're not eating it, then we're not going nowhere.
Exactly. But thank you so much. It's been such a wonderful, wonderful conversation. And if you want to work with Danielle, your website is southbaywellness.com.
Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Z.
Yes. Yeah, southbaywellness.com. And they can certainly go there and grab our free checklist or reach
Awesome.
out and follow all of our stuff. So thank you
Awesome.
so much. And it was a pleasure being here. And I hope everyone walks away with at least one golden nugget, right? Even it's just
Yeah.
as simple as putting away the phone or eating some more vegetables.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. All right. Thank you so much. And as everybody, as usual, you can find the Feeling and Healing podcast on YouTube at Feeling and Healing, as well as Apple Podcast and Spotify.